Coming up on AgweekTV, we'll take you to the Western Minnesota Steam Threshers reunion in Rolog, Minnesota. South Dakota is attracting dairy operations from around the world and lead an Irish transplant who's thriving in the state. And as beet harvest gears up, some growers have too many to harvest, while others are a washout. Welcome to AgweekTV. I'm Shawna Olson. The sugar beet harvest is coming to life. The pre-pile harvest is underway, but the outlook is very different up and down the Red River Valley. Too much rain hurts some growers, especially in the Northern Valley. While to the south, many growers are looking at one of their best crops ever. Brian Inglesrud, American Crystal Sugar's Vice President of Agriculture, says yield is expected to be 28 tons per acre. But he says excess rain north of Grand Forks has killed or stunted many plants and is increasing the risk of spreading disease and root rot among the plants. At Mindak Farmers Co-op in Wahpeton, they're predicting a record crop. It's expected to be 20% bigger than their best at 32 tons an acre. Mindak can slice just over 3 million tons this season. The co-op has told growers they may have to leave 15% of the crop in the field. That's also a record high number.
Right now we're sitting at just our wonderful crop. It gives us the opportunity to maximize the throughput through the plant, which enables us to maximize the payment. But our growers plant beets to harvest them. And we at management are doing everything we can to find alternative uses for beets in excess of what we can process here.
Wickstrom says some of the excess beets could be sent to other co-ops for processing or used as cattle feed. Farmers in an area of north-central North Dakota are enjoying a summer without flooding. The Souris River starts in Canada, flows through Minot, and past Towner before turning north and back up to Canada. Mitigation efforts in Minot and a series of dams in Canada have made the water situation worse in Towner. As Jonathan Knutson found, ranchers in that area say too much water is released at the wrong times, ruining their hay crops and property and costing them too much money.
2 years ago, I did a story on flooding here in the Towner, North Dakota area. Year after year, excess water from the Souris River has hammered pastures and hayfields. Today, I'm back for an update.
The last 7 years have really been tough. When you don't have these crops, you either got to buy your hay or feed or sell your cows. And it's tough to run a ranch when you don't have cows.
Nature cooperated this spring and summer. Flooding hasn't been a problem, but egg producers here say the fundamental problem still remains.
This is river bottom land, maybe like the Red River also. It's very good land. When it floods, and our worst thing is the water's being kept in the dams in Canada so full, and it's tough to manage dams when they're full of water. In fact, it's impossible. Then we get a little rain or snow events, they miss guessing. Then we have water all summer because they just let out so much. We can grow tremendous crops here if we just can keep the river in its banks.
For Agweek, I'm Jonathan Knutson.
Kongsley says while he appreciates the lack of flooding this year, changes must be made to the Souris River water management policy for a permanent solution. They're up and running in Verona, North Dakota. James Valley Grain opened a new $28 million shuttle loading terminal just 2 months ago. Along with added grain storage, it has a 120-car fast-loading circle track. It can load a shuttle train in roughly 8 hours. It also has 3 dump pits and a 10,000 bushel an hour dryer. The new site holds a lot more corn and soybeans than the old site, which was torn down.
We got 2 facilities, so it's going to take a lot of pressure off just having one location. Before we had to truck all the grain that come into our small facility and truck it to Oaks. Now we have two shuttle loaders that we can ship out of.
Matson says they've been extremely busy since operations began in June, receiving 180 trucks a day until they were full. Matson says the crop in that area looks great and they're expecting it to be big. Growing worldwide demand for food means we may have to look for new ways and places to produce it. A South Dakota company is betting on aquaculture as a potential market for regional corn and soybeans. Prairie Aquatech is developing a soy substitute for high-demand fish meal for fish farms, as well as high-protein feed for farm animals, pets, and people. Mikkel Pates has more.
South Dakota State University researchers are working with industry to create a new outlet for the region's soybean and corn crops.
Prairie Aquatech is a small company that spun out of research to upgrade the quality of plant-based proteins to be used for fish, weaning animal diets, pet foods. It's a replacement for fish meal, which is a very high-value commodity that's limited quantities worldwide and very high prices.
So this is a sinking feed for a larger species of fish, and this is a floating feed for tilapia.
Fish is going to be one of the big reasons we can feed the world in 2050 with 9 billion people.
Wild-caught harvest of fish in the oceans in the 1980s. Everything had basically maxed out, and yet demand for fish protein has continued to increase, and so filling that gap was aquaculture, which is farming fish.
We're really at a crossroads in global agriculture, in the fact that everyone knows the story behind food security. Our population is growing. We need more food. It needs to come from natural, sustainable resources. And so we see aquaculture as, it's the fastest growing segment in the agriculture market.
Not only is it going to help the people around the world, but it's also going to help the economy in South Dakota. We have soybeans right here.
Prairie Aquatech officials are confident that this part of the world and its corn and soybean crops will play an important role in the world's aquaculture, just as it has with ethanol.
I look at this high protein ingredient that we're making for aquaculture very similar to the ethanol industry. 15 years ago in 2000, when I got into that industry, it was a very infant industry, only a handful of plants around, and now there's 200 plus plants producing billions of gallons of ethanol. I look at this protein production the same way. The growth over the next 15 years is going to follow the same type of curve. It will be phenomenal.
For AgweekTV, this is Mikkel Pates in Brookings, South Dakota.
Prairie Aquatech is planning to build a $40 million plant near Brookings next year. It would produce 30,000 tons of feed pellets a year. Coming up next on AgweekTV, we'll take you back in time to the Western Minnesota Steam Threshers reunion in Rolog, Minnesota.
My name's Joel Kaler, owner-operator of Kaler Farms in Lidgerwood, North Dakota. We make a patented product called a cornstalk guide. Helps guide corn stalks into the grabs in the chains a lot smoother without losing corn. The corn stalk, when it comes off of our product, it's already on the gathering chain instead of being able to hit that idler. Our product will keep all the wear off the snout and get it to come into the head smoother without bouncing.
Handing down a favorite recipe is an important family tradition, and it can start with a trip to your local home of economy, where you'll find a huge selection of canning supplies to get the job done right, like paring knives and cutting boards, jars and lids, cookware and spices, all at the guaranteed lowest price, so you can seal in those lasting memories and preserve more than great taste.
Home of economy, where your dollar buys more.
Commitment. You need it to succeed on the farm. It's total dedication to the land, family, and community. It's more than a way to make a living. It's a way of life. You've had it since the first time you ran your hands through the soil, helped bale hay, or rode along in the combine. Your commitment. It's as strong as your family's trust, as honest as each long day you put in, and as pure as the opportunity that comes with every tomorrow. It's how we build our bins, with proven design, superior structural integrity, a lifetime warranty, and a promise to stand with you, no matter what storms come your way. The harvest will always be protected, so you can sell when it's right for you, your family, and your farm. Commitment. It's why we can say there's nothing standard about superior.
The term hunting blind takes on a whole new meaning this week on Northland Outdoors. We travel to Indiana to follow Master Sergeant Eric Martz from Moorhead, Minnesota, as he joins other fellow veterans on a typical turkey hunt, well, with only one exception. Each of these veterans is blind. Watch Eric with notable outdoor adventurer Lonnie Bedwell hunting blind this week on Northland Outdoors.
We're here at the Western Minnesota Steam Threshers reunion in Rolog, Minnesota. And on this day, it's Nursing Home Day, where residents get to come out and take a stroll through memory lane. For many, it's a time for them to remember life on the farm. It all starts with the crews on this train. Every year, nursing homes roll into Rolog with residents.
Good morning.
They take in the sights and sounds of the past, seeing equipment decades old that they once used.
It brings them back to their days when they were farmers or just came here to visit.
Residents like Lloyd Hyen are all smiles. He grew up on a farm near Colfax, North Dakota. So what do you think of this train over here? Pretty cool?
Great. I used to live, the house used to be 50 feet from the track.
Oh, really?
The farm.
A train like that?
Yep. You go every day. It was the main line that went right through there, so there's a lot of trains went by.
So that sound is familiar to you?
Oh, yeah.
Everything we have on this place is operational. Nothing stands there for the simple reason just looking at it and wondering what it does.
Raymond Kratzky is 94 years old. Does this bring back a lot of memories for you?
Oh, yes. I see a lot of machinery that I have used. Different size plows, gangs, one-bottom plows.
He farmed near Pelican Rapids, Minnesota. What kind of equipment did you work with, Ray?
Well, it was horses to start with, and we got a tractor after a while.
You did?
Yeah, I got a co-op tractor. Later on, I got a John Deere. Better.
John By never farmed, but he says this visit back in time puts things into perspective.
Seeing all this makes me wonder, my golly, they had to really work to, use the equipment that they had. It's just overwhelming. You see all the old tractors.
You get to know the tenants so well, and you just can tell by looking at their faces. This is wonderful for them.
The Western Minnesota Steam Threshers reunion runs through Monday. Up next on AgweekTV, your holiday and harvest weather outlook. And later, an Irish transplant is celebrating 10 years in the dairy business in South Dakota.
The term hunting blind takes on a whole new meaning this week on Northland Outdoors. We travel to Indiana to follow Master Sergeant Eric Martz from Moorhead, Minnesota, as he joins other fellow veterans on a typical turkey hunt, well, with only one exception. Each of these veterans is blind. Watch Eric with notable outdoor adventurer Lonnie Bedwell hunting blind this week on Northland Outdoors.
Skag, the toughest name in lawnmowers. Unmatched quality and performance for over 3 decades. The clear choice, the best mower money can buy for work or at home. Top lawn care professionals and discerning homeowners know that Skag means productivity and reliability. Every Skag mower is proudly built right here in the USA. Don't settle for anything less than simply the best. Skag.
Contact your nearest dealer or call North Country Marketing.
Where do you go for the latest news in agriculture? Agweek magazine. Reaching over 30,000 farmers and ranchers in North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, and Montana. Agweek provides the most up-to-date information on the markets, the trends, and the people who make it all happen. We're your source for news, not fluff.
Dependable, trusted. Agweek. Subscribe today by calling 1-800-811-2580.
This is Dennis Belisky reminding you we do auctions and we do them well. You've built your operation with hard work, and when it's time to sell, all or part, you deserve the best. Details from repairs and preparation to promotion and settlements are not routine. Chances are you'll only do this once, so we'll tailor an auction just for you and get it done right. On-site at your farm or added to one of our highly successful Alaris Center auctions, we have the skill, reputation, and integrity to meet your needs with best-in-class commitment and quality service. Find us at resourceauction.com or call 701-757-4015.
AgweekTV weather is brought to you by Kaler Farms.
It is that time of the year when tropical weather can sometimes affect the weather of the Corn Belt and Northern Plains. Not necessarily by raining directly, but by affecting the pattern, and that may be the case this time. The tropical Atlantic is getting busy. Florida getting it this weekend. The East Coast will likely be in for some heavy rains over the next few days. Eastern Corn Belt still very summery. That's another headline, and turning cooler across the Northern Plains over the next 2 weeks. That tropical Atlantic thing is something we'll want to watch. But first of all, let's take a look at the drought monitor here in the Northern Plains. It's still very wet out in the Black Hills area. A little bit dry in the Black Hills area, a little dry around here, but really most of Minnesota, most of North Dakota, no longer is there really dry weather any bit of a problem. In most cases, there are some spots that are more wet problems than dry problems. Some dry weather in New York and in the Northern Rockies, but really the Great Plains, most of the Corn Belt, with the exception of Northern Ohio, just no problems as far as not enough rain is concerned. Now, the tropics are active. Right now, it's the southeast. Over the next several days, it'll be the eastern seaboard, and this is being allowed to happen because of this high-pressure ridge. Talked about this last week. Well, watch the jet stream this week. Got a low-pressure trough. That's going to mean a good bit of rain over the course of this weekend in the Northern Plains, and the speed of this tropical system moving up the Atlantic coastline may cause rains to linger in some part of the Northern Plains up towards southern parts of Canada. And it does look like it will eventually cool down to the Northern Plains while hot weather lingers over here in the eastern states, every place where it's not raining. And as we move toward the end of the week and the weekend, another low-pressure trough builds into the Pacific Northwest, possibly setting up for a little more cool weather and a little more rain for some parts of the Northern Plains. Here's your forecast for this week. I do expect it to be somewhat wet over the eastern Dakotas, Minnesota, and Iowa. And of course, we're getting it this weekend in the southeast, and along the week there will likely be some very heavy rains in parts of the middle Atlantic states. Western part of the nation will continue to be quite dry. There will be some showers and thunderstorms in the southeast, and the rains along the eastern seaboard may be more substantial than this, but I do think there will be not necessarily crazy heavy rains, but generally pretty wet weather over the Northern Plains and upper Midwest. Temperatures still quite warm in much of the south, but we are starting to see the beginnings of a cool down into the Midwest and the Northern Plains. The second week, much cooler weather builds into the Rockies. It'll still be fairly warm in much of the Northern Plains, but beginning to cool down. Rain coming back into the Pacific Northwest, stormy in the south, and the Midwest rains will shift a little bit east, but I think there will be some rains for the Northern Plains. So in summation, here's what we've got going on. Hot weather, eastern Corn Belt. Rain again in the upper Midwest, and it's hurricane season, which definitely means changes.
Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Where do you go for the latest news in agriculture? Agweek Magazine. Reaching over 30,000 farmers and ranchers in North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, and Montana. Agweek provides the most up-to-date information on the markets, the trends, and the people who make it all happen. We're your source for news, not fluff. Dependable, trusted, Agweek. Subscribe today by calling 1-800-811-2580.
When you need electricity way out here, you better get yourself one mighty long extension cord. Or better yet, a portable Honda generator from Home of Economy. Rugged, dependable, and so quiet, you won't miss a sound. Pick one up today at the guaranteed lowest price, only at Home of Economy, where your dollar buys more.
My name's Joel Kaler, owner-operator of Kaler Farms in Lidgerwood, North Dakota. We make a patented product called a cornstalk guide. Helps guide corn stalks into the grabs and the chains a lot smoother without losing corn. The corn stalk, when it comes off of our product, it's already on the gathering chain instead of being able to hit that idler. Our product will keep all the wear off the snout and get it to come into the head smoother without bouncing.
South Dakota's dairy industry has been growing for the past 20 years. The state has worked hard to attract dairies from states like California, where producers face tough regulations and shortages of water and feed. But they've also recruited dairies from overseas. As Michelle Rook reports, Drumgoon Dairy recently celebrated an expansion and 10 years in the United States.
This is Drumgoon Dairy, owned by the Elliott family, who relocated their dairy operation from Ireland here to Lake Norden 10 years ago. Rodney Elliott says he was frustrated with the inability to expand his 140-cow dairy in Ireland and looked at several states and countries before coming to South Dakota.
We bought a quarter of crop ground and started and built our dairy in 2006.
South Dakota was actively recruiting dairies, but he chose the state because of its positive business climate and abundant water and feed supplies.
In South Dakota, you have the ability to produce great quality feed, good quality corn, silage, soybeans, alfalfa hay.
He started with 1,400 cows, but has grown to 4,500 by adding a second barn, which the public toured during their open house.
Both run separately but jointly managed. We have 2,000 cows in the old barn and 2,500 cows in this barn.
They also raise 4,000 heifers and employ 50 workers, which creates economic activity in the area.
We know that we're having a huge economic impact. We're creating jobs outside the employees we have.
And that's a message he hopes the public leaves with after touring their farm. Near Lake Norden, South Dakota, I'm Michelle Rook reporting for Agweek.
Still ahead on AgweekTV, a Minnesota farmer is turning to his trees to supplement the income from his cattle operation.
My name's Joel Kaler, owner-operator of Kaler Farms in Lidgerwood, North Dakota. We make a patented product called a cornstalk guide. Helps guide corn stalks into the grabs and the chains a lot smoother without losing corn. The corn stalk, when it comes off of our product, it's already on the gathering chain instead of being able to hit that idler. Our product will keep all the wear off the snout and get it to come into the head smoother without bouncing.
Where do you go for the latest news in agriculture? Agweek magazine. Reaching over 30,000 farmers and ranchers in North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, and Montana. Agweek provides the most up-to-date information on the markets, the trends, and the people who make it all happen. We're your source for news, not fluff. Dependable, trusted, Agweek. Subscribe today by calling 1-800-811-2580.
Advanced biofuel for America's diesel engines is clean burning and made from renewable sources like soybean oil. Biodiesel fuel works in any diesel engine, reducing emissions, helping us breathe cleaner air. Biodiesel adds value to North Dakota soybeans, creating jobs, improving the environment, increasing our energy independence. Biodiesel, it starts with soybeans, it's fueling America.
The term hunting blind takes on a whole new meaning this week on Northland Outdoors. We travel to Indiana to follow Master Sergeant Eric Martz from Moorhead, Minnesota, as he joins other fellow veterans on a typical turkey hunt, well, with only one exception. Each of these veterans is blind. Watch Eric with notable outdoor adventurer Lonnie Bedwell hunting blind this week on Northland Outdoors.
It's time to demand more. With Micro Essentials, you get more from every acre. Through our fusion technology, only Micro Essentials combines 4 vital nutrients into one powerful granule, ensuring uniform nutrient distribution and increased nutrient uptake. The innovation behind our fusion technology means you'll grow stronger, healthier plants. Micro Essentials. Get more from every acre.
A farm family in central Minnesota has an unusual way to supplement their farm income: trees. Tim Nolte, his wife, and 4 kids raise cattle, but as Jonathan Knutson found, they're depending more and more on selling the many varieties of trees on their land.
In parts of Agweek country, trees are a rare and precious thing. On this Minnesota farm, they're common and precious.
This particular load will be sold to a neighbor for firewood. If we get in a little bigger stuff, then we get bolts out of it and it goes to the appropriate market.
The Noltes have 25 different kinds of trees on their land. The trees have both direct and indirect economic benefits.
We get a good value off this poor grass just by managing it correctly. This pasture's been grazed once already this spring. You can see the regrowth back in here. It'll be hit one more time and it'll still save the existing trees coming up. And we sell that we can the mature wood and firewood out of here.
Paul Nolte, Tim's dad, has less love for the trees, but he puts them to good use, including the rafters for this building.
Myself, I always wanted to get rid of the trees, but I guess the generations have changed. I think of my grandparents and stuff, they grubbed them out, got rid of them.
Tim Nolte says he hopes the trees will continue to add value and enjoyment to the ranch for generations to come.
When I'm done to pass the land on to the children, it's not a region that's going to be for agriculture. It's probably going to be recreational value. So you need trees for good recreational value. So if we can do a dual purpose between cattle and the trees and still leave something at the end game, that's our goal.
With cattle prices and profits slumping, the trees will become even more important financially. For Agweek, I'm Jonathan Knutson.
The Noltes plant about 250 trees a year and sell about 100 cords of wood. They also have about 500 cow-calf pairs. Thanks for watching this week's edition of AgweekTV. Remember, for all your ag news, go to agweek.com. We'll see you next week.